There's a brutal reality about the modern WNBA that almost nobody inside league circles wants to publicly acknowledge. If you are an elite offensive weapon, especially one who moves ratings, sells out arenas, and genuinely shifts the cultural conversation around women's basketball, you don't just face defensive schemes. You face a physical gauntlet specifically designed to wear you down before the fourth quarter even arrives. Screens turn into full-body collisions. Closeouts turn into chest-to-chest confrontations. Every cut through the lane feels like sprinting through rush-hour traffic with no right-of-way. The contact isn't accidental. It isn't incidental. It's a calculated strategy deployed by veteran players and entire coaching staffs who understand one thing clearly. If you can make the game uncomfortable enough, even the most talented players in the world start second-guessing themselves. For nearly 2 full seasons, Caitlyn Clark walked directly into that storm. Completely alone. No backup. No deterrent. No organizational response. Cheap shots landed without consequence. Late hits got absorbed without retaliation. Flagrant-level contact somehow dissolved into the background noise of what commentators casually called playoff physicality. And through all of it, the Indiana Fever front office sat in near-total silence, while their franchise player absorbed punishment that would have triggered immediate organizational responses in almost any other professional sports context. Clark kept scoring. She kept creating. She kept filling seats and breaking records. But the protection never came. Until now. Because something fundamental has shifted inside this franchise, and it didn't originate in the front office boardroom. It started with Clark herself. What just happened in Indiana was not a routine transaction. It was a calculated, ruthless personnel move that exposes a deeper truth about who is actually steering this organization. And once you see the analytics behind it, the entire power dynamic of this franchise becomes impossible to ignore.
Winning. Being able to play with Caitlyn Clark, I think that was a huge eye-opening. Like, I have the opportunity to play with one of the greatest players that's ever going to play the game of basketball. So for me, once I also heard that, like, oh, she really wants me here too, I was like, oh, well, let's get it done then. There's no questions about it.
For 2 full seasons, the blueprint against the Indiana Fever was painfully transparent to anyone willing to look honestly at the film. Get physical with Clark early. Bump her aggressively off the ball before she can establish rhythm. Body her through screens so that by the time she catches, her feet aren't set and her balance is already compromised. Crowd her landing space on pull-up jumpers. Make every drive to the rim feel like a calculated risk rather than a confident offensive decision. And above all, make the entire possession exhausting, not just defensively, but physically and psychologically. The strategy wasn't subtle. It wasn't even particularly sophisticated. It was systematic and deliberate, and the league's veteran players executed it with the quiet efficiency of people who had been doing it long before Caitlyn Clark ever stepped onto a professional court. Here's what made it genuinely remarkable, though. Her numbers didn't collapse. Despite the relentless physical attention, Clark's playmaking remained at an elite level. Her ability to read defensive rotations and find open teammates in collapsing coverages didn't erode. Her scoring stretches continued to bend defensive structures that opposing coaches had spent entire weeks designing. She didn't mentally fold under the pressure. She adapted, absorbed, and continued performing at a level that made every arena she entered feel electric. But here's the critical distinction that separates surviving adversity from actually eliminating it. You can endure punishment indefinitely and still post impressive statistics. Clark proved that, but enduring punishment is not a championship formula. It's a survival strategy, and at some point, every survivor deserves backup. The front office had multiple roster cycles to address this imbalance. Bigger wings with defensive versatility, physical veterans who understood paint warfare, defensive specialists capable of sending a clear message to opposing teams considering cheap tactics. Instead, the roster remained finesse-heavy. The physicality gap stayed wide open, and Clark continued operating as both the offensive engine and the primary target simultaneously. That imbalance had a shelf life, and Clark reached it before the front office ever did.
Maesha Hines Allen, a few years ago when we were asking for an enforcer, everybody was acting like we were asking somebody to come out on the court and pistol whip somebody. Like, an enforcer is somebody who will handle stuff like this Be a presence, like just show them. It's like a
inflicted damage. Transition discipline. When Hines Allen secures a defensive rebound, which she does frequently and effectively, her instinct has been to immediately put the ball on the floor and push up court herself. On the surface, the impulse makes sense. She grabs the glass, she sees open space ahead, she wants to convert momentum into offense quickly. The problem is fundamental. She is not a point guard. She does not have the handle to consistently navigate full court pressure with defenders recovering. She does not have the vision to process transition reads at high speed while managing her own dribble against closing opponents.
Right before the break, we got a little John going on. Caitlyn says, hey, you and me, Hayes, you and me. This is how you bring the roof down. All tied up here with 5:14 to go.
That's all what the numbers are. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Maesha Hines Allen is the most impactful defender when it comes to pure points in the league. And Caitlyn has chosen wisely. Shout out to Caitlyn, man. Let Caitlyn be the GM, man. Why not, man? Amber Cox, clean your desk out. Get out of here.
When she attempts this, the outcome is either a forced stop that kills momentum entirely, or worse, a turnover that immediately swings possession and emotional energy to the opposing team. And in a system built around Clark's transition dominance, those turnovers are exponentially more costly than they would be on a different roster. Here is the non-negotiable standard for Hines Allen in transition, and it is actually simpler than what she's been attempting. Secure the rebound. Locate Clark immediately. If Clark is being face guarded by a defender,
and then when you get the rebound on defense, the defensive rebound, get the ball to Caitlyn. Do not dribble that ball down the court. That's not you, okay? And I get it. Sometimes you look for Caitlyn and she's being face guarded. Just hold the ball and let her juke her man and break free and then get her the ball. Don't just instantly see her face guarded and then just...
determined to deny her the ball, do not panic and force the dribble. Hold the basketball. Let Clark work off the ball. She is elite at creating separation without the ball in her hands. That's not speculation. It's documented film evidence across 2 seasons. Once Clark shakes free, deliver the pass into space and let the offense operate the way it was designed to. Every single deviation from that formula is a self-inflicted efficiency drain. The Indiana Fever offense
like choking Caitlyn, and then you got to come over there and grab and pull them off of them. A lot of times it's just, oh, we saw that. Okay. Next time down, boom, chicken wing to that girl. And it's like, oh, just a message. She got to send messages and let it be known.
Generates its highest outputs when Clark initiates. That's not a preference. That's analytics. And any transition possession that bypasses Clark's hands unnecessarily is a possession operating below its potential ceiling. Fix this one tendency, and the already impressive impact Hines Allen is generating gets amplified significantly. Because when the defensive dominance combines with disciplined transition execution, Indiana starts looking less like a playoff contender and more like a genuine championship threat. And the rest of the league is not remotely prepared for that version of this team.